Hello everyone, Seedlink here, back with the next part of the Pickems of the Starladder Budapest Major. We're going into the playoffs now, and for the third time in a row, I managed to get 6 Pickems correct in Stage 3. What's kind of weird though is that you can see here, get 5 correct Pickem predictions for Stage 3. That's not showing up even though I got 6, which does weird me out, especially since um, it says I have 3 like claims left. I did already use one already. In fact, let me go to my inventory real quick. Yeah, so this I used this. It was the nuke game of. I don't actually remember who, but I remember it was one of the most dominant. Yeah, it was Fury and Navi, which was like the super dominant like round one of stage 3. Yeah, it was this one. So I claimed that one, and I still have 3. So I did get the sort of extra like case, but it's not showing that I did here, which is kind of strange. It's kind of a weird glitch. So to run it back from stage 3, this is kind of strange. So the last 2 times I've done these pick'ems and I've gotten this stage 3 or previously stage 2 correct, typically what would happen is I would get maybe not all, but like most of the teams correct, but then I would have usually either. So the first time it was wild card and big, I got both 0-3s correct, but then I got both 3-0s correct, and those 3-0s teams ended up being 2 teams I had qualifying normally that went here. So that was 4 pick'ems screwed there. However, with these 2 combined with the rest being accurate, it was fine. Then the last time around, I got Spirit 3-0 correct and Nejima 0-3 correct. So the way I always view these pick'ems is it all comes down to the 3-0s and 0-3s. If you get none of these correct, it's basically impossible for you to actually get 5 correct. If you get 1 correct, there's a low chance, a very low chance. If you get 2 correct, you're in an okay position as long as the rest of your pick'ems were decent. If you get 3 correct, you're near guaranteed. If you have 4 correct, you would basically have to be a complete idiot to fail it, because at that point, it means that, like, if you got both 3-0s and both 0-3s, that means that all 6 of the teams you had qualifying normally, you got 2 teams qualifying 3-0 correct, and you would have to get all of your 6 teams wrong in order for that to happen. So the last 2 times when I've gotten 6 correct, I've always gotten either both 0-3s, 1-3-0 and 1-0-3. This time I got only 1 correct in the 3-0s and 0-3s, that being Furia. Yet despite that, I got 5 correct here, and on top of that, if you look at these teams here, I actually got all 8 teams correct in terms of the teams qualifying through. And I was one of the only people, because I saw a lot of people put G2 and Liquid through over FaZe and Mongols, which I do know now that Mongols no longer has Senzu, and I'm surprised. I like straight up never heard anyone talking about that, and even looked it up afterwards. I saw very few people mentioning it. Like, it was kind of like with the Halzerk situation, how people were like not even talking about Halzerk, or people were like saying Halzerk's name, but they'd never talked about like what was actually happening with Halzerk. It was kind of a similar thing with Mongols and Senzu. With that being said, even though Senzu was the best player on Mongols, the rest of the squad, they're all very young, they're all very talented, and from what I heard, apologies, I'm pretty sick. From what I've heard, Senzu was kind of kicked from the team because he wasn't meshing as well with the group, and Mongols are definitely one of those teams that their strength comes from being a solid unit. Like, a prime example of this is Liquid. I mean, Liquid, they've always had great talent, they've always had great players, the teams should work well. But if the teams can't work together, if they can't get strategies going, then you're going to have crap like this, where I lost the friggin' Passion 0-3 because Liquid can't beat them. So, even though Mongols might not be as good as they previously were, I still think they're an amazing team, and I still would have put them in hands down over Liquid, and probably still over G2. And then FaZe Clan, again, FaZe Clan's a team I think people are just under-repping because of how bad they did in Stage 1, but again, you expect them to do worse in Stage 1. Like, they always do better the longer the tournament goes on, especially the playoffs. And I gotta be honest, because I got all 8 of these correct. These are genuinely, I think, the top 8 teams this tournament. You know, it might not necessarily be the top 8 in terms of the rankings, but in terms of majors, this is the top 8 team right now. I mean, the only thing you could do is maybe like swap like G2 somewhere in here, but I personally wouldn't. So the favorites this tournament are going to be Furia and Vitality, but FaZe Clan also does really, really well in the playoffs. They've made it to the finals twice, and last time around they did get upset by Mongols, but then again, they did 2-0 Mongols in the group stage, so that had some factor as well. So the Mongols kind of adapted to that. Just drink some water. Been really sick the last 2 days with a bad cold. Would have recorded this video earlier, but unfortunately wasn't able to. So I'm going to start with the easiest pick'em, and I think it's easy to make this pick'em purely based off of what we saw earlier, which is going to be Furia beating Na'Vi. I actually think Na'Vi is probably the worst team in this top 8, or at least one of them, because, like I've said, Na'Vi is a team that, like, they're going to destroy anyone who's not in the top 10, but once they get to the top 10, unfortunately, over the last, like, half a year to a year, they've just not been that well consistent. Pretty much ever since, like, the Shanghai major, I would say. They've never kept their form from the Copenhagen major. They've just been going down, and then once the Shanghai major happened, Na'Vi really disappointed, not even making the playoffs, I don't think. Pretty sure they ended up failing, like, I want to say they went down like 2-3, surprisingly, if I remember correctly, which was really surprising. So, Na'Vi, they've just not been, like, I think they're a solid, like, top 10 team. They're barely in the top 10 is how I view it. Whereas Furia, my second favorite team along with Mongols right now. These two teams are my favorite teams I wanted to be rooting on. Furia, I mean, they're a team that people joked about. They're chokers just like Liquid. They're all over the place just like Liquid. But seems they've peaked at the right time, and a lot of people have them going all the way. And I don't think I'm going to put them all the way through, but when it comes to facing Na'Vi, I definitely put them through. Because, I mean, just look at this. Yes, it's a best of one, but you're supposed to be a top 10 team. You should not be getting 13-2'd against everyone, against anyone, even in the top 10, including, look at this. How do you get, how are you one round away from overtime against Vitality, right? How are you getting 13-11, 13-11, 2 times in a row against Vitality, but you're getting 13-2'd against Furia? That just doesn't make sense to me at all. So Furia, easy win there. Na'Vi would have to learn a ton, and I think Furia would have to basically have lost memory in order to lose that. Next one, Mongols Vitality. Mongols, I love them. I would love for them to upset here, but unfortunately, they haven't really been able to beat Vitality, at least consistently. They've taken a map off them here and there, but right now I think Vitality and Furia are basically competing for #1 in the world. Like, these two are very likely to be the finalists, in my opinion. So, as much as I would love Mongols to do an upset just like they did last time around, where a lot of people had FaZe over Mongols, including myself, because of the playoff buff, I don't see it happening. If it does happen, I think if this somehow does happen, I think Mongols could very well take the whole thing. But I think Vitality I actually think Vitality is still the best team right now over Furia, even though I do like Furia more personally. Furia has a lot of momentum, but we've seen their momentum be stopped abruptly before, whereas Vitality doesn't usually have abrupt stops when it comes to momentum. So then the next one, we're going to talk about Mao's phase. Pretty much everyone I've seen has put Mao's going through, and I think this comes down to the same thing I was saying for the last few stages, which is that people are underrepresenting FaZe Clan. They're looking at FaZe Clan purely from a skill perspective and not from a historical perspective on how they play at majors. They are inconsistent in group stages, and they always do better in playoffs. The last time around was the only time they actually had a bad playoff run. And that time around, they went up against Mongols, which they faced in the group stage, and they beat. So when you look at Mao's phase, they didn't face each other. Yeah. Mao's and FaZe never faced each other, and for that reason, I actually will put FaZe through. I think FaZe always has a playoff buff. They always do better in the playoffs than the group stage, and while their group stages have been up and down, and potentially their playoffs might be up and down, I do think that FaZe Clan is going to be better than Mouse. So, as much as I do think Mouse could potentially win this, and on paper, skill-wise, they should, I think that FaZe ultimately would win that overall because of the playoff buff that they get. Now, sure, it didn't happen last time around. It might not happen this time, but from what I've seen, from them having a bad stage 1, a 3-0 on stage 2, and then another like above average run here, where yeah, they might have, sure, they lost to Mongols and they lost to Spirit, but those are two teams you kind of expect them to lose to. And meanwhile, they destroyed Vitality. They 2-0 3D Max comfortably, and they maybe not that comfortably beat Passion, but they still 2-0'd them. I mean, if they like lost like say 13-7 to Pain or something like that, then like let's say that they get eliminated here, or they lose one map like 13-3 to fit to 3D Max, but they still win 2-1. Yeah, then I think you could put Mao's over FaZe Clan. But for me, I think everything I've seen so far points to FaZe Clan having a playoff buff, and for that reason, I am putting FaZe Clan over Mouse. Now we have the top matchup. This is the closest one for me personally, Spirit and Falcons. So this one I've seen pretty divided. I've seen some people put Spirit through, some people put Falcons through. Most people I've seen have put Falcons going through. For me personally, though, I think Falcons, while a lot of the time it can come down to the events, sometimes they're kind of similar to like Liquid or Furia, where like they'll do really good in one tournament and they'll do really bad in another, kind of like Aurora or Eternal Fire. But nowadays, not as much. They're just getting worse, unfortunately. So on paper, Falcons might seem like the better team, but honestly, people are under-repping the new picks on Furia. They got, Zwei I think is a bit of a question mark, but he's still shown that he's got skill. But Tanir, I mean, it was just a matter of time before he was picked up by a top team, and going on Spirit's insane. Combine that with the fact that you still have Shiro, one of the best operators in the world. You still have Donk, obviously the best player in the world. And on top of that, against Maus, in this game against Maus, the Mirage game, Chopper did better than Donk. Okay, Chopper's the one guy, he's kind of like, Kerrigan, where you don't really look at him for the kills, you look at him for the smart plays. If Chopper is getting more kills on a map than Donk, I'm sorry, that team's unbeatable. You've got Chopper destroying everybody. You got Donk destroying everybody. Like, you got Donk destroying everybody that he walks in front of. You got you got Chopper destroying everybody and making good calls. You got Shiro sniping people from afar. You've got Tanir just doing all kinds of crazy crap and always coming out on top. And then you just got Zwei, this unexpected guy who no one ever knows anything about. Which, by the way, while I mentioned that, Jacob in FaZe Clan, like, he's also been a big surprise. Like, he's a no-name that everyone's like, oh, because he's a no-name, he's not going to get me far. If you watch any FaZe Clan games this major, you'll notice that Jacob has been, I wouldn't say he's been carrying, but, like, he's done insanely well. For someone that no one's ever heard of, he's an absurdly good player. And for that reason, while I do think the combo of Nico Monacy is strong, compared to the overall, like, coordination and overall power of Team Spirit, I think Team Spirit wins it. This one I do expect to be close. This is the closest game for me personally, but I am going to be putting Spirit through. So now we got the final picks as well as the major picker, or the grand final champion. So I'm going to be doing these Pickems based on two things. A, who I think is going to win, and B, who I think is most likely to get to the semis. So Team Spirit, unfortunately, has not really shown enough talent to be able to beat Vitality. I think Spirit has a very good chance against Furia and FaZe Clan, and potentially could even win if they do manage to get here. Unfortunately, I think Vitality has just always had their number. They've yet to be able to really prove themselves to be able to consistently beat them, just like Mongols. Yes, you can take a map or two, but you're not going to be able to beat them at a major like this. Like, every time we've seen Vitality lose a major, it's been to FaZe Clan, which could very well happen if we see this happen. But I think Team Spirit, as much as I think that they've done amazing this tournament, so have Vitality, and I think Vitality's dominance will at least get them to the finals. Now, these three teams I actually think are the favorites to win. Like, I actually don't know comfortably who's going to win out of these three. Spirit could potentially make it too. Like, the only teams I would be very surprised about would be Navi because of the Furia match and Mongols because of the Vitality match. Maus, I feel like Furia should still beat them. If they do go here, they have been able to beat Vitality consistently recently, but I still don't think they're probably going to at a major. I think they will crumble at some point. But when it comes to these teams, this is tough, because Furia, I think that they're probably the second best team, with Vitality being the best. But FaZe Clan, like I said, they always have that playoff buff. Furia can get in their own head more so than FaZe Clan, although it can happen to FaZe Clan too, just not usually in the playoffs. I think FaZe Clan has a better time rallying back. So it's a tough choice to make for me personally. And before I make this pick, I'm actually going to make this statement. Because of the fact that I think Vitality beating Spirit and Vitality just making it to the finals in general is more likely than either of these teams making it, because I think this is more of a 50-50, I'm going to put Vitality through. Even though I think FaZe could definitely beat Vitality, because they always have in major playoffs, and I also think Furia can beat them, I'm still going to put Vitality through, simply because I think, for the same reason of the last major. The last major, I don't know how I did this, but I ended up getting nothing correct except Vitality. So previously in majors, I would get the two semifinalists correct, but then I would get the finalists and the winner incorrect. However, the last major, somehow I got only one of the semifinalists correct, so I didn't get this point. But I did manage to get one of the finalists, Vitality, and the winner correct. So, and I did that, and the last time I did that, I said the same thing, which is that as much as I think FaZe Clan could potentially beat Vitality, and I think they probably will, I'm going to put Vitality through because FaZe Clan are more likely to lose, right? If I did like this, for example, if I did this and then this happened, nothing really changes when it comes to this pick'em and this pick'em, because Vitality's still here. However, if I do this and this happens, I'm screwed. Right? I can get this pick'em correct, but I can no longer get this one correct, and I have to rely more on that. So for that reason, I think I'm going to put Vitality winning the whole thing. I do think that Furia and FaZe can beat them, but I think this is the more safe play. And this is a matter of better team who's doing better right now, or playoff buff. I'm really, really torn on this. So I'm kind of leaning on Furia because of the fact that I want to root on Furia. They're my second favorite team behind Mongols. They're a more dominant team. Most people I have seen have done this. And I kind of want to go against the grain, but no, I think I'm going to do the same thing that I do with Vitality making it to the finals. I'm going to pick Furia here, because if I pick Furia here, like let's say if I picked FaZe here, and Maus wins, I'm screwed. But if Maus win here, that doesn't change basically anything. As long as I get these two correct, I'm fine. So for that reason, I'm gonna go with this. Vitality wins the whole thing, Furia second, FaZe Spirit third, Falcons, Mongols, Navi, and Maus are out in the quarters. So I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys at the next major.